Yo, 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 welcome to the Sports Talk podcast with me, your host, Jaden Mobley, and my two co-hosts, Jesse Van Bach.
What up?
And Brian Kiley.
So,
now today, we're here to talk about a very serious topic. It can land you in jail. It can get you some money. And that's called sports betting. Now, gentlemen, can you teach me a little bit about the history of sports betting, sports gambling, what goes into it?
You want me to go first?
yeah, sure. I'll base off of you.
So, sports betting and gambling has been around obviously since early 1800s, probably even longer than that, back into like the Roman and the Greek days, and even probably civilizations before that. It's always been a societal thing to enjoy sports, and with sports obviously comes gambling.
It makes it more fun.
It
makes it so much more fun to get.
For a lot of people, and like I know a lot of people say that it's something that like makes them want to watch it. Like the sports,
It makes it more interesting to watch it. Like you got money on the game. Like you're gonna go watch that more than if you just start watching a regular game. Like,
Yeah.
It makes it more interesting.
So besides like back in the day, I don't know too much about the full-on history of it, but I know in America, from like the early 1900s all the way until almost like pretty much today, there was always this thing called a book, and a book was owned by a bookie who was pretty much someone who took bets for you, and these were located in local stores and cultural places like barbershops or corner stores or delis or I'm trying to think of some other ones. I said barbershops before, but anything.
They're in
like
gas stations too.
gas stations
you
too,
bet out
yeah.
anywhere.
So it was more of that like local homegrown thing, like less big corporation that we see today in the modern society. But that's pretty much where we were until about the early 2010s, around there, where obviously modernization and technology took over, and we have seen a large scale industry for illegal betting, which has in return resulted on many states to actually push forward new legislation to maybe even legalize it.
That's when I was introduced to it. Like around that time, like you go to a Super Bowl party and like all the parents are they just bet. Like it's the boxes. That's where I was first introduced to it. You go to they're like, oh, betting on the boxes. I had no idea what it meant. But they're putting like $200 on it, and that's how I was kind of first exposed to betting. And then like as you get older, you like oh, I can do this myself, and you get a bookie and all that. But
so my question is, like, we're all like familiar with horse betting and horse races, how the
horse
whole
betting's
culture
got big.
The whole culture
Yeah.
in that it's all about betting, and that's legal. So I'm confused on how that's legal, but then it's betting for a football team or a hockey team.
People are betting on the stupidest shit. Like you had like the Super Bowl, they're betting on like the over/under for the national anthem. Like how long is this lady gonna sing the national anthem for? Like that's because they put mad money on just like dumb stuff, and it's just like it gets out of hand sometimes. But like I understand. I'm also a little bit lost on why you can bet on horses, but you can't bet on like a sport. It's the same thing. It's just like it's the same concept in a way.
I definitely would say I'm a little lost on that topic, and I always see myself like going to different states and like always wondering like why were they allowed to, and like
But we can't. Yeah.
And there's obviously things like reservations and like rights and stuff to that, and that's definitely something that's kind of out of my pay grade to know. But I would definitely say it's a problem that has underlaid like pretty much like the entire sports industry, because more of the common men watch baseball and football and all that. Not many people like look their entire year to watching the Kentucky Derby. Like that's like a white rich man thing. Like you see all these.
You see all the sports players there. We were at my house a couple weeks ago. We were having like a show with some friends, and we were watching one of the game, like a basketball game, and he just like kept bitching at me. He's like, put on the horse race, put on the horse race. I got like $200 on it. Like, put on the horse race, put on the horse race. I put the horse race on, and just like. It's crazy to bet like on a horse. Like the races are also like they're so short and there's so many of them that like you can just put so much money on it and it just gets out of hand. But like
So
I was never like, I never knew how big horse racing was till like, I was just like, they brought it up and they were just like, yeah, like mad people bet on horses. Like, I have a friend that breeds horse, like racing horses and shit.
They're worth millions.
Yeah, they're crazy.
It's an industry.
You know,
now.
riders don't even get that much money.
see, and that's probably why it's legal, because it's an industry and it makes people money.
Money, yeah,
It makes
but
the government.
The other
It's
bet makes
taxable.
no money. It just makes you money. It's like, it's. I feel like it's just them. They don't want you. They don't want you to have money.
It could be taxation too, because it's like, how do you tax a bookie?
can't.
Like,
You
you
can't.
know what I mean? If he doesn't disclose those earnings to the IRS, who's gonna keep tabs on that? So I feel like that could possibly, but I'm not too sure.
It's a choppy topic.
it's a very choppy topic, and I think that that it would also have like a lot of implications on a lot more things than just what you were saying there.
So this is actually the perfect springboard into. Do you guys think it should be legal? Do you think that we should have the freedom to do with our money what we want?
I think so. But there's also that like that part of that maybe it shouldn't, because like it's. I think a lot of people are interested in the betting because it's illegal, and like it's kind of like, not that it's like illegal. I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like they're like. It's like a sneaky way to get money in a way. It's like a.
And then that
Like
all
people like
wraps
that.
back-
Yeah, they like
all-
that.
It all wraps back around into taxation.
So
Like-
that's that. Again, you legalize anything, it's just gonna be taxed, and they don't want, like, I feel like maybe they don't want that because it's like they want to have the money how it is, what they get it like.
It's definitely a good point, and I feel like that's just like the American like way of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Is like, yes, like we believe in like representation for taxation and stuff like that, and we definitely believe in building up this country. But one thing all of us hate is paying high taxes, mostly
Taxes
on
suck.
something
Yeah, fuck taxes.
we risked our money to make, and we actually panned out. It's definitely something that's going to be hard for individuals to take. But I also think that the like quality of it also is gonna be like way better through legalization, and that also leads me to a point. Yes, I do believe it should be legal because one, it's gonna get rid of these a lot of these illegal books, which and not in every situation they are like bringing in billions of dollars, but like in some situations they are, and that's just all going to someone's pocket. Like when I believe that the biggest reason that people are trying to legalize gambling, and it's like one of the biggest push for it, is it's going to create a lot of revenue in taxation for every state that does it. I'm a New Yorker, and we are terribly in debt.
It's not legal.
taxes.
It's not legal in New York.
We just got we just went through Congress to get bills passed for it, and it's in the progress of being done by, I think, 2023 if I'm not wrong. But that and another legalization that I won't get into will lead to a lot of taxation weight loss for New York, and I think that it could definitely show because there's a huge culture around betting in the East Coast, mostly the Northeast Coast.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable how much, like, and mostly in our youth, like we're gonna see like people rushing to the casinos or to the DraftKings spots or to
Outside MetLife.
yeah, MetLife in New
around there,
Jersey.
place your
We
bets.
border a state right now that is legal, and I know people that flood to just that state, like to just cross the border to place a bet so they can legally do it, like instead of doing it through a bookie, because one, that money's dirty. Two, there's better odds and more realistic stuff from Vegas odds that that go straight down into like a DraftKings or a casino, and also they just find it easier. Like
It's
Bookie, because you gotta pay the bookie.
It's less of
Yeah.
a risk, like for somebody running off with your money, to like.
Some people don't
Yeah.
When you
want
go through
Yeah.
a legal process, which is, it's like, I don't want to, get you guys implicated or whatever. Have either of you ever done any sports betting, like for me, a little
yes,
bit?
Oh,
I try to stay away from it just because of personal
Kills your bank
reasons.
account.
Yeah, yes.
Especially if you're not doing it right.
But I have definitely gambled on online gambling and just common bets with like how he was saying with fantasy football or a Super Bowl or just a friendly one.
It just ends up like people. Sometimes you don't want to pay. I know kids that people don't want to pay the bookie. Like they put mad money down, they lose, and they're like, "Fuck it, I'm not paying the bookie." But like, and then it's just like you can bet other ways besides a bookie, but I feel like the most popular is the bookie.
You're gonna get your money though from the government, from a government entity that's trying to be an LLC and run a business. You're gonna get your money from them. They're not gonna screw you out of it. You might get screwed through a back end deal.
So, another thing I was kind of curious about when it came to this is what do people think about you if you're betting all the time? Like, have you ever gotten to a point like where you were betting a lot and you've heard like comments from people, like people like
my friend was throwing like $700 onto like you got college basketball when the NCAA tournament was going on. That was huge because you had the NCAA tournament, you had college basketball, you had NBA basketball. Football wasn't around, but still, like those are two huge. Like you got mad. That's mad betting, and you just throw all. They're just throwing money on them, and like my friends, they're always like, yeah, like I gotta stop betting. And, like I've been throwing way too much money, and like I'm down like $300, not like $400. I'm like, it's an addiction. Like.
So what sport do you think nets the most bets?
You can bet on anything. That's why I don't feel like there's one particular sport that nets all of it. I feel like people bet on anything. They'll bet on, like I said, the national anthem. They bet on like. Basketball, football, horse racing, baseball, literally anything. Like it's wild.
So with that, obviously betting, you get a rush, you get an adrenaline rush. When you win, during the game, like every action.
Oh, it's the greatest feeling, yeah.
And so when somebody develops an addiction to that, it could take a toll on their lives. Do you know anybody? Because personally, I know somebody that went 10,000 in the hole.
Yeah, you talked about that.
But do you guys know anybody that anything more serious happened to them because of their addictions to betting?
Drain their bank accounts. So like, that's a lot of money that you were talking about. I haven't heard about that, but I know that they've friends have drained their bank accounts on a weekly basis. I'm just like they're just throwing like 10 bets a day. This they have like lists. We found this. My friend found this kid's list at a bar that he left, and he had like a little sheet, and it was like little papers attached to each other, and it was just every single bet he made. There had to be like 30 bets on it, and all the winnings and shit. And he had that's like over $500.
You're talking about a pay stub, right?
No, he had like a little white line piece of paper, and he just wrote all his bets down,
this
all the
like
earnings.
Illegal, yeah.
Yeah, illegal betting, illegal betting. But yeah.
Add on what he was saying, I definitely have seen what you're talking about is like addiction to this, and as I was saying before, there's a massive culture around it, around gambling now. You have a lot of these media platforms, just like us trying to do right now, that are talking about gambling, and people are following them, people are watching it, it's getting the views, so people love this, and they were doing it on their own anyway, and I've seen from people starting with one bet and like being that $5 like, oh, I'll just throw $5 on here, or like $5 here, see if I can win on like an underdog, and up to the point where they have to put a bet in just to watch a game, like how you were saying. Like
that's a good point. Like mad kids, well not mad kids, but some of my friends would be like, yo, I'm not watching the game unless we put a bet on it, because it's like not a sport they're interested in. It's like a fucking baseball game or like a tennis game. And they're like, I'll put money on this, let's watch this. Like, I have money on it. It's like it's just like fantasy football. Like you got like a league, you got money on it, you put it like you're watching the games, even though you might love football and all that, but you watch the games specifically because you have like, I don't know, like whatever amount of money you have on the whole season. So like money makes a difference in sports. It definitely makes it more fun. Like March Madness.
Yeah.
I make a bracket. I'm not gonna watch it. I usually wouldn't watch every game, but I got money on it. I gotta you gotta watch the games. Every little shitty game is a fun game to watch because you got money. It's a rush. Yeah. You lose money. You lose a lot of money doing it. You could, but also it's just like it's an addiction. Like it's fun. Like it's like something you want to do. Like
it's to the point though. Like I have like a few stories from it, but like one is like I was watching March Madness as you're talking about, and my friend won $5,000 sitting there right now, and it's like we're watching the We're watching the 12-15 games. Like it's like
Oh, yeah,
1 o'clock in the
it's awesome.
afternoon. Like 1-5
basketball.
He's so up, and then he just decides to keep going and going and going and going.
You get that rush, you want to keep going, but then you're like, you don't know when to stop sometimes.
First one he lost, and he was like, "All right, I'll make it back." Next one lost again. By the end of the night,
I'll make it back.
By the end of the night, he lost his $5,000, like, and
then
he
you're
was
just
down
pissed.
a little
Then you're
bit.
just pissed.
Not even like that's the craziest thing. He was like he was pissed like a little
It's a
bit,
lot
but
of
he's
money,
not
too.
like he's like it happens and like that's just becoming comfortable with like
Yeah.
with like this and like I'm not okay with that at times, but like I've always been for the person that's like do what you want with your money. Just like when you're you're irresponsible with your money, I think that someone needs to let you know, or just you need to fail. Like, and you'll learn that on your own eventually.
Yeah.
And see, with like the addictions, what I'm getting is people that don't know when to call it.
It's just like every other
'Cause they'll-
addiction.
like you said,
right?
they'll win, they'll go up and they'll go down. Oh, I gotta make it back. I gotta bet again. I'll go up. I'll go down. It's just like
It's like an up or
it's an
down.
uneven scale. It goes. It's going in one way, one way, one way. It's never gonna always go.
So
And to add on to that real quick is like something I always thought about is like and I saw it. What did most of these kids do like when COVID hit? No sports were
No.
playing. College basketball stopped right there. NBA stopped right there. Like we had to wait till the NBA bubble opened up to even get a sport. Like what were people doing? And people ended up gambling.
Saving their money.
Just
Anything.
not even like people
Anything.
just gamble on everything. Any esport because we were watching so many
You could-
different
you could gamble, yeah.
esport. Esports are a huge way to gamble now. People are just gambling on that because they had to gamble. Like they literally were that bored without it, and it's like the same thing as hitting nicotine. Like, and
I was
not
gonna say it's like a
being able to see it.
cigarette.
Yeah, it's like a cigarette. Like it's that drive that like all of us feel, even for the ones that do extreme sports, like jumping out of a plane. Like it's that rush and
It's that adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And it's crazy you guys bring up esports because this is just a little personal research I did about gambling. I found out there was like this huge case. Like it was like big. This YouTuber, his name is T Martin, I think. He had started, you know the game CS:GO, right?
Yeah.
So he in that game you could get knives before the whole crackdown. You could get knives. You could actually sell them for money, and the whole thing was a loot box. So you get those loot boxes, and then which is pretty much gambling. So you get the loot boxes. They give you the knife, and then he had a website where you could then sell those.
Make money off.
That you
it.
could sell through the website,
Mhm.
and it was promoting gambling to children, pretty much. So it's like, what do you with when it comes to children and minors? Do you think that that betting should stay illegal, or like what kind of legislation should come under betting? Like, should there be blanket terms, or like,
And from what I can tell is like this movement of like in today's age where like gambling is becoming more like just noticeable. Like it's seen, like we have ads for DraftKings, we have ads for all these different things. And I see what you're saying, and I think that we have to limit it within sports productions, like that are, because most of sports are actually directed at kids. Like they still the only reason I love sports is I grew up playing sports,
With kids,
and I loved watching them, and I idolized these players. So we need to watch out and be careful around that. And I think to answer that question though, I think there should be a legal betting limit, just like legal drinking and legal smoking. Like it should be. I think it's 18 that you should be able to do with what with your money when you're an adult. So it should be 18, but other people might have different opinions.
I could.
It's like getting a tattoo.
What do you think?
It's like getting a tattoo. Like some kids want to get it when they're younger, but like it's like, does it really make sense? Like,
And should there be a cap per night type of deal?
For betting?
Like
how
So
much money you can
if-
throw in?
if betting is legalized to where you could get big payouts, but at a certain point you have to stop throwing money. And what number should that? What should be that number? If
I think that and this is very touchy because we have freedom of our own costs and our own money.
Yeah.
Like we have our own choice of money.
We had some technical difficulties, but we're back. So you guys, any final thoughts? Any final like words about sports betting?
I just think it's like, it's like, it's your money, do what you kind of want with it, but I feel like you should be a little smart with it it should be, if you have the means to bet a lot, like bet, but if you're like kind of don't have the means to bet a lot, you have like, you want that like addiction, not that addiction, but like you just want that like, you want to like do it because you think it's fun, like I feel like you should kind of just watch how you do it if you don't have the means for it. Like if you have a lot of money and you have money to spare to bet on it, bet it, but if you don't, then I feel like that's just how people go broke, you know what I'm saying? So like,
I think that we've seen a huge shift in just like perceptions of betting in the past like 50 years. Even before that, like it was always like you either bet in like the white way or
the wrong way,
or it's like it's so weird how it's developed and everything. But I think that there's very good pros to what it could do for people. And society in whole, and then I also think there's negatives of what it can do to people and society. We need to be careful with how we deal with it, but it could be something that we could definitely benefit from.
Like it makes sports more fun, but it could also just like, it could like ruin you in a way.
It didn't. I think
there's safe ways to bet and there's stupid ways to bet.
It could be very good for sports, and it could also ruin sports too. Like if it just becomes about betting, we got to keep the focus on sports itself.
Because sports betting, kind of to me, like it's almost akin to stock markets. How everything it's like you have people sinking the hundreds of thousands into a stock that just will not grow, and it will not grow past and make them money, but it might. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and that's legal for everyone to do.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of nuance in it that what I picked up from this conversation and from what you told me. There's a lot of nuance, and I feel as if we might be able just to walk to a Stop and Shop and put in a bet.
You could.
You could.
Depends. I mean, it's sometimes
that could definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of it right now.
We could develop into that eventually, where it becomes that like simple, like it's just like scratch offs. Like we could definitely develop into that. But
that was fun when I was like turning 18. I just bought scratch offs.
Because that's.
Spend like $100, won like $5. Yeah, it's gambling. It's a legal way.
Gambling is legal in many places. Most of the country, it's just they want to regulate it in certain situations.
It's literally like it's weed. It's illegal somewhere, but also it's also kind of just looked down upon, or just like kind of like people just look away from it because like people don't really give a shit. But like it's illegal. It's illegal, illegal. People kind of just it's everyone's view. People look at it in a different way.
All right. Well, thank you two for joining me today. Thank you guys for tuning into this podcast. Without you, wouldn't be nothing. Our links are in the description for our Patreon, Twitter, Snapchat, all that. So you guys, remember, if you want to bet, do it smart, play things by ear. And any advice to our wannabe bettors, gamblers that are watching this?
Save your money.
Save your money. Gamble a little bit if you want, but don't make sports about gambling.
Don't make gambling your whole like view of sports.
Yeah, definitely have a whole perspective, and just stay clear-minded.
So, like I said, thank you for tuning in to the Sports Talk Podcast. It's been me, your host, Jaden Mobley.
Jesse Bamback.
Brian Kylie.
And we're going to see you next time.